Next guest is Major General Paul Vallely. He is truly a mentor of mine and a friend as well. And General Vallely is the chairman of Stand Up America, and he has recently returned from Syria, where he had some very interesting meetings with members of the Free Syrian Army. General Vallely, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Alan, thank you, and glad to be with you today.
Appreciate it. Now, there's been so much discussion out there about who's the rebel, what's the rebel. It kind of reminds me of the old who's on first, what's on second, who's on third, Abbott and Costello routine. You met with the Free Syrian Army. You met with Colonel Riyad. You had a very detailed, very well laid out after-action report. Can you kind of give us an understanding of the factions that are there so that the people can better realize who the rebel force of the opposition really is?
Be glad to, Alan. You know, this is my third trip in the last 14 months over there, meeting with members of the Free Syrian Army. I've met with Muslim Brotherhood and Al Jazeera. I had a press conference in Antakya, Turkey. Went back in November, and this is my third trip just 2 weeks ago. I've met with over 400 of the Free Syrian Army, to include Colonel Riyad, the commander, Colonel Maliki, the deputy commander of the Free Syrian Army, as well as 8 of the generals who are sort of the kitchen cabinet, if I could call it that, for Colonel Riyad. The Free Syrian Army is made up not only of the military that have defected from the Assad regime, but also there's lawyers, there's government types, bureaucrats, if you want to call them that, who have been in all categories of Justice Department, economic development. So when you look at the Free Syrian Army, it's made up of a composite of people who have left the regime to represent the Syrian people.
Now,
and so when you're on the ground, Al, as you know, it's the only way you can vet them out. You can't vet them out in Washington, D.C., and nobody else has been on the ground in there to do that except my team.
And I think that's the real issue here is how do we vet, how do we separate, how do we understand these forces? And really when you hear the administration talking about they want to degrade Assad's capability but upgrade the opposition's capability, you know, what really is the capability, what really is the readiness status, if I can use those terms, of the Free Syrian Army as opposed to the Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood-backed Supreme Military Council?
Well, what's happened when the Free Syrian Army broke out and was established sometime later last year, Qatar decided they'd come in and support an organization that they put on top of the Free Syrian Army. And I liken it too, Alan, to the Coalition Provisional Authority, which we put in over the Iraqis in Iraq. So you're taking its patriots, you're taking people from outside rather than the grassroots organization and superimposing that. That's now the Free Syrian Army supposedly, but it's really not. It's the Syrian National Council, the Supreme Military Council, very small group of people. They actually work out of Istanbul, headed by General Idris. They're funded by Qatar, they're Muslim Brotherhood, they're Al-Qaeda in there, but they're not the true Free Syrian Army. Yeah. They represent on the Al-Qaeda what we call the radical Islamist side, the Muslim Brotherhood supported side, probably about 20 to 25,000 that are in there now have come in after the Free Syrian Army's been in there doing all the spade work on the ground. Yeah. The Free Syrian Army is probably anywhere from 80 to 100,000, and that fluctuates based on the number they have killed or wounded and the number that continue to come over from the Assad regime. Assad at any one time probably has only about 60,000 soldiers fighting. And they're only in about 3 different locations where they control. Latakia province on the coast, Tartus province, and the majority of districts in Damascus.
Now, General, I got about 3 minutes left. I want to play this clip, and I want to get your strategic or operational assessment of what really will be the end state or the end game of us firing missiles and rockets into Syria. Can you please play tape number 6, cut 6?
Our military has positioned assets in the region. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs has informed me that we are prepared to strike whenever we choose. Moreover, the chairman has indicated to me that our capacity to execute this mission is not time sensitive. It will be effective tomorrow or next week or 1 month from now. And I'm prepared to give that order.
General, in about a minute and a half, can you really give us your assessment, the strategic and operational objectives or goals, and what will be the end state of just firing cruise missiles into Syria?
Well, if they were serious about supporting on an international basis and even from the United States, this is the message from the Free Syrian Army. Neutralize the Syrian Air Force, supply us logistically. Assad will fall in 30 days because he doesn't control the majority of the geography or the provinces or the districts in Syria. That's all they want. We do not have to have boots on the ground. We should have some intel covert operators in there working with the Free Syrian Army, but they need to neutralize that Air Force. Every time the Free Syrian Army is on the initiative, on the offensive, they get backed away because Assad comes in and bombs the villages as well as the Free Syrian Army. So that's all that has to be done. It's very simple. It takes about 3 hours to do that. I gave the targets to the government, to the Defense Department, of the 3 main airfields where the helicopters and fighters are, and that will totally change everything. And now you've got a secularist Free Syrian Army who have plans for post-Assad in the government. So they're very well structured, very well managed. I was surprised how well they have things put together, Alan, but it would take somebody like me taking over a delegation to get them inside to find this out for themselves. You can't do it within the Beltway.
And real quickly, General, what is your number one unintended consequence concern?
The biggest concern, if we don't do it, Assad is going to continue to rage battle over there against his own population. You'll have Hezbollah working their operations against Israel. You've basically handed over a success to Iran and to Russia, who are supporting Assad, and it's going to get worse if somebody doesn't do something to bring down Assad.
Well, thank you so much, General.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Major General Paul Vallely, Chairman of Stand Up America. General, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be right back after this break.